The Republicans, no progress so far. Today is their first day back. They basically have today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and maybe, today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and possibly Friday if they decide to stay in session on Friday. Usually Kevin McCarthy adjourns on Thursday nights. But basically they have 4 days. Maybe 5 if they want to push it to Saturday, to pass legislation to keep our government open. And there are 12 pieces of legislation they need to pass to do that. They haven't passed a single one. They did actually they did pass one of them, and it was, so dysfunctional, so full of, GOP BS that there's no way it'll ever be approved by the Senate. So basically, they have not passed any legislation that can gain Senate approval and that won't be vetoed by our president, by President Joe Biden. And now Moody's. S&P Global downgraded us in 2011 when Obama was president and Republicans shut down the economy thinking that it would cause him to lose the election in 2012. I mean, the analogy is perfect, right? It was around the same time. It was a year and a half out from the election, a little less than a year and a half out from the election, and the Republicans shut down the government, hoping to create a recession. And by the way, in 2011, we were just barely recovered from the Bush crash of 2008, 2009. Just barely recovered. And so they shut down the government in 2011, thinking that it would cause such an economic crisis that in 2012 Americans would vote for Republicans because the Democrats were in charge at the time, or at least had the White House. And they thought, this will do it. Didn't work out that way, but it did hurt our country. That downgrade in our credit rating has, from S&P, Standard & Poor's Global, has to this day caused our deficit to cost us more money. And if Moody's does it, then the AAA rating of America is gone forever, destroyed by Republicans in the House of Representatives. We're the only major developed country in the world that doesn't have a AAA credit rating because we're the only major developed country in the world that has a major political party that is dancing to the tune of Russia, trying to destroy the American economy and harm the American people. It's just incredible. Moody's, in a note that they published yesterday, said, quote, fiscal policymaking is less robust in the U.S. than in many AAA-rated peers, and another shutdown would be further evidence of the weakness. After having negotiated a contentious bipartisan debt limit deal in June, the U.S. Congress is yet again renewing internal party disagreements that threaten a government shutdown and clearly reflect the political hurdles to U.S. fiscal policymaking. Kevin McCarthy is, using the Hastert rule, essentially, that Republicans will only bring to the floor for a vote legislation that they can pass with only Republican votes. They don't care if a few Democrats go along with it, but it has to be something that can only pass with Republican votes. And at the moment, McCarthy's got nothing that can pass with exclusively Republican votes. You've got the Republicans, the old school Mitt Romney Republicans. There's still a handful of them in the House of Representatives. And they're not going to vote for a piece of legislation that they know the Senate won't vote for and the president's going to veto. And then you've got, the cokehead caucus, the right-wing crazies, the so-called Freedom Caucus. The Marjorie Taylor Greene was so extreme she got kicked out of it. But basically, Greene and Gates and Boebert and Gosar and, it's the crazy caucus, the sedition caucus. Scott Perry. The guys who were gung-ho to overthrow our government on January 6, 2001, the guys who are still in bed with those traitors, the guys who are questioning aid to Ukraine, the guys who are basically, I call it the Putin caucus, the guys who are dancing to the tune of Vladimir Putin. And they want to shut down our government to hurt Joe Biden. And instead, it's going to hurt average working people. It's going to hurt people who need to travel on airplanes. It's going to hurt people. TSA won't get paid. It's going to shut down our parks. It's going to cause, a couple of million federal employees to lose their paychecks. It's going to hurt our military readiness. They don't care about any of that. Putin is gleeful right now. absolutely gleeful as the Republican Party, or at least a large chunk of the Republican Party, the billionaire-funded chunk of the Republican Party, is preparing to damage America once again.